Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We're about to take a seriously fascinating journey, starting all the way down at the microscopic synapses firing inside our brains and zooming all the way out to the unspoken rules that govern our most intimate relationships. We're going to uncover the hidden, invisible forces that money exerts on the mind. So, does your bank account actually control your brain? I know, it sounds a bit extreme. It is so easy to look at our financial struggles, or maybe those impulsive late-night purchases, and just chalk them up to a lack of willpower or even a personal moral failing. But what if those behaviors aren't really character flaws at all? What if they are actually hardwired neurological responses to your environment? Here's a quick look at our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the brain on financial stress. 2. Uncovering your money scripts. 3. Money and relationship power. 4. The hedonic treadmill trap. And finally, number 5, rewiring for financial well-being. Let's dive right in.
Starting with part 1, the brain on financial stress. To understand this, you really have to think about something called the cognitive bandwidth tax. Imagine your mind is like a computer with a very limited amount of RAM. When you're living with financial scarcity, meaning you're constantly running calculations in the background about whether you can afford groceries or how you're going to juggle past due bills, those calculations eat up a massive amount of your mental bandwidth. Your brain starts doing this thing called tunneling. It becomes hyper-focused on your immediate, desperate financial needs. And because of that, you literally have fewer mental resources left over to devote to everyday tasks, long-term planning, or even impulse control. And guys, the sheer magnitude of this invisible tax is staggering. Research out of Princeton and Harvard found that the active worry associated with financial scarcity produces a cognitive impact that is equivalent to a 13-point drop in IQ. Let that sink in for a second. Just the act of worrying about money drains your cognitive capacity just as much as losing an entire night of sleep. It's literally the difference between performing brilliantly at your job and struggling to just keep your head above water. It has absolutely nothing to do with intelligence. It's just about a processor that is completely maxed out. When we compare a secure brain to a stressed brain, the physical differences are pretty mind-blowing. A secure brain handles clear planning, it regulates emotions, and it maintains normal tissue volume. But a brain under chronic financial hardship, it is physically altered. The prefrontal cortex, which is your executive control center for planning and logic, actually shows reduced gray matter. Your hippocampus, the part of the brain that handles memory and helps you imagine the future, physically shrinks. And meanwhile, your amygdala, your brain's built-in threat detection alarm, goes into absolute overdrive. It starts reacting to a piece of mail like it's a literal predator in the room. Your brain isn't just stressed, it is physically reshaping itself just to survive. Moving on to part 2, uncovering your money scripts.
Financial psychologist Brad Klontz came up with this really incredible framework. He found that we all operate on unconscious beliefs about finances, and we usually mirror them right from our parents. He calls these money scripts, and there are 4 main types. First up is money avoidance. This is the subconscious belief that money is somehow bad or that you don't deserve it, which totally leads to self-sabotage. Second is money worship. This is the belief that more money will solve absolutely every problem you have, which is a fast track to workaholism. Third is money status. This is when you equate your self-worth strictly with your net worth, driving a lot of competitive, flashy spending. And finally, money vigilance. This is an intense, laser focus on saving, but it's paired with really high anxiety, making it practically impossible to actually enjoy any of the wealth you've built. As you're hearing these, you might already be wondering which one sounds the most like you.
Here's the kicker though. Because these scripts are entirely subconscious, we usually drag them blindly right into adulthood, and that leads to some major subconscious sabotage. Partners often have no idea they're operating on entirely different financial programming until a massive conflict explodes. You'll get one partner's money worship colliding head-on with another's money avoidance. Suddenly, you have these huge spender versus saver battles. They feel intensely personal in the moment, but a lot of the time, it's really just 2 different childhood scripts clashing in the present day.
And that brings us to section 3. Money and relationship power. There's a quote here that I think captures this perfectly. When one partner earns dramatically more, money stops being a logistical issue and becomes a carrier of safety, control, and worth. We have to remember that financial power imbalances almost never start with bad intentions. Most of the time, it's just a totally practical career difference, or maybe one partner decides to stay home to raise the kids. But if you don't have intentional, brutally honest conversations about it, money will quietly transform from a shared mutual resource into a really toxic, unspoken hierarchy. Sociologists actually have a name for the tension this creates. It's called the principle of least interest. Essentially, it means that the partner who is less economically dependent on the relationship inherently holds more structural power within it, simply because they have less to lose financially if they leave. Now, for the higher earner, this kind of power can actually feel like a trap, leading to this compulsive need to caretake, or just a lot of underlying guilt. But for the financially dependent partner, it often leads to a total loss of their voice. They might feel like they constantly need permission just to spend, which slowly but surely builds a mountain of resentment. Couples generally end up structuring this dynamic in one of three ways. You've got the funder and beneficiary, where one person pays for everything. Then there are the proportional spenders, where expenses are divided based on what each person makes. Or you have the equal dividers, where every single bill is split 50-50, completely regardless of any income gaps. But you know what the research actually tells us? The healthiest model has very little to do with the exact math or even having equal incomes. The absolute healthiest relationships prioritize emotional safety around money. They treat the income as ours instead of mine. That way, both partners have equal influence and respect, no matter what the numbers on their individual paychecks say.
All right, let's look at part 4, the hedonic treadmill trap. This next concept has actually been around since 1971. It's called the hedonic treadmill. So think about point A. You buy that shiny new car, or you finally get that massive promotion. You experience this huge, incredible spike in joy. You literally feel like you've made it. But fast forward to point B, just 6 months later. The novelty wears off, and you inevitably adapt. Your happiness levels plummet right back down to your baseline. It's like you're running on a treadmill. You're constantly spending and striving for these short-term dopamine hits, but you aren't actually moving forward at all in terms of sustained lifelong happiness. To show you just how wildly powerful this adaptation is, researchers looked at 2 massive extremes: lottery winners and accident victims. Now, you would naturally think their happiness levels would be permanently altered in totally opposite directions, right? But the data showed something else entirely. After the initial extreme joy or the extreme grief wore off, both groups eventually adapted. They both returned to their previous pre-event baseline of general happiness. It's fascinating, and it proves that humans are highly, highly adaptive creatures. Pursuing endless material wealth thinking it's going to cure your unhappiness, it's a complete biological trap.
Which brings us to our final section, part 5, rewiring for financial well-being.
Okay, now for the incredibly good news. Remember all that brain damage we talked about earlier? The shrinking hippocampus and the overloaded prefrontal cortex? Well, it's not permanent. Thanks to neuroplasticity, your brain can heal itself. Studies actually show that when financial stress is alleviated and a person finally reaches stability, their cognitive bandwidth expands and their working memory improves. And this can happen often within just 3 to 6 months. Your brain will physically recover its capacity just as soon as its environment feels secure. So how do we actually step off that treadmill and jumpstart this healing process? Here are 4 actionable steps. 1. Identify your subconscious money script so you can finally stop self-sabotaging. 2. Establish absolute financial transparency and shared influence with your partner. You have to dismantle those toxic power dynamics. 3. Prioritize experiences over material things. Experiences actually compound in our memories, whereas things just fade into the background. And 4, practice mindfulness and gratitude. This physically helps reset your brain's set point of happiness. As we wrap up today's explainer, I really want to leave you with a question to chew on. What is money actually doing to your mind right now? Is it shrinking your cognitive bandwidth? Is it silently dictating the power dynamics in your relationship behind the scenes? Or is it keeping you trapped on a treadmill of endless consumption? By understanding these hidden biological and psychological forces, you can finally start making money work for your mind. instead of letting it control you. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I really hope this gives you some powerful new ways to think about your own financial well-being.